Welcome, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing here today on Conscious Business Zone with Scott Ware. Hi, Scott. How are you?
I'm great, Kathy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So Scott and I have not met in the physical, but we've met on virtually on Facebook. I think through Daniel Gutierrez and through Jonathan Colbert. So probably through the Holistic Chamber of Commerce or something. But I wanted to read what Scott had sent me for his bio, and then we're gonna really go into it because obviously we're talking to an enlightened being right now, and I want to hear all about that. Okay. So Scott is the owner of Radiance Multimedia and the publisher and editor of Radiance Magazine, Integrative Wellness at its Best, Southern Colorado's largest independent spiritual wellness magazine, which can be found bi-monthly at 660 high-vibe intentional locations in Southern Cal, like yoga and meditation studios, health food stores, holistic and wellness centers, healthy restaurants, metaphysical and crystal stores, and certain coffee houses, and online at radiancemagazine.org, which we'll show right now. We'll show your URL for everybody. His mission is to amplify what wellness practitioners and all their modalities can do for your well-being and support the awakening of Southern California and beyond. So that's a mouthful, not a small quest. So
Sure.
you must have become enlightened or something with all of this. There must have been a spiritual awakening that caused you to go this path. So I'd love to know, how did you get started?
Well, first I want to address the word enlightened. That's a very big word, and to me, what that means is a lot of people would say it's waking up, and just that I woke up to myself.
Right.
And that's what it means. So I'm aware. So I'm aware of things I know that I don't know. I'm aware that when I woke up, I became enlightened to many things I don't know. So it's not that I know a lot, but I know quite a bit more about myself. And I would say every day that process deepens and I get past more and more layers of resistance or of any kind of blockages we as humans put there. And so I would hope for everyone is getting more and more enlightened every day. I suspect they are, to be able to wake up to know. I remember one of the first things I woke up to was just knowing that I wasn't my story, and that there's this
huge.
Yeah, right. That, we tend to have these stories running in our head. Well, this is how life is. People are this way, and that's why I'm in this place in my life, and therefore that's just the way it goes. And then some of those people, unfortunately, don't have the realizations until they're on their deathbed.
Right.
And they realize then they should have went for it and not worry what other people thought and all that kind of thing. So that to me is just enlightened, that you're awake to yourself and that you have choice. You have choice in everything in your life.
Right. And so as far as because I agree in every way but you've taken it as a mission to really create resources for people in Southern California by publishing this. And I want to tell a little secret. Somewhere in my big dream is to create online version where I own a URL, conscious business dot directory. I own that one. I haven't done anything with it yet.
All right.
And somehow I work with a lot of just amazing healers. Amazing. They're just almost supernatural what they can do, if the client will let them. And so somehow I would love to have a launching pad for all of that. And you have part of it. So I wanted to. So you started out in this business as the editor, and now you're the owner. So tell us a little bit about the journey that you've been on that got you to the awareness that this was what you should do, because mission. You can tell.
Sure. Yeah. I got to a point. So people that would be interested in this story are people who are interested in wondering if they have some idea that they're spiritual, and to me, spiritual is not religious. It's just a belief in yourself and your relationship with the universe, whatever that looks like, whatever word you use. Some people say God, source, spirit, goddess, many phrases. So there was a day that it came to me right about 2012 that I wanted to do something spiritual for a living. I'd had jobs that didn't do anything for me, left me very unsatisfied, to say the least. And I wanted to see if I could do that for a living. And I asked, I looked at my skill set, and writing was one of them. And I thought I'd start a magazine. Now, but at that time I did a search to see what was out there, and there was a small magazine in South Orange County. I lived in California, North Orange County, and it was closing down because it was just a sort of a supplement to a spiritual center there that was closing down. So I reopened it, and it had been around for 7 years at 70 locations. Now in the 2.5 years I've had it, and as the owner, it's at 660 locations in Southern California. So essentially any place that welcomes independent spiritual thought, which helps people go deeper into themselves, that's where I'll put the magazine. And it's been a gift. And yes, I have learned quite a bit. It's been quite a journey because of the people I've met and that I've been allowed to meet and get to know better and deeper has deepened my spirituality. And I like to think I give back as much. And they're in my interactions with them as we're working together they contribute to the magazine. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure. The audio, check the volume.
Is my volume low?
It's too loud. It's actually feedback. There we go. Thank you. So what I wanted to ask was the things that you're seeing on your path right now with healing and with I guess I'm wondering about the obstacles that you're seeing for some of the clients, the advertisers or the writers in your magazine. And I'm wondering is that something you're thinking that's just local, or if it's nationwide?
Well, it's interesting because at one point, I don't know if it was on air or off air, you mentioned the Holistic Chamber of Commerce, and a lot of people don't even know such a thing exists.
Yeah,
they've heard of the regular Chamber of Commerce where business people get together and network, but a Holistic Chamber of Commerce is very different. And you can go to holisticchambercommerce.com to find out more information. Where I like to call them heart-based entrepreneurs or heartrepreneurs,
right?
Get together. Right. And collaborate, find what's working, what's not working. And what's interesting is I believe we're going through a spiritual renaissance because so many of these people have sought alternative means for healing and then become healers themselves through what they've learned. And now they're looking to build a business, and whether they're doing Reiki, energy healing, acupuncture, chiropractic, whatever moves them. But if they're a holistic practitioner, which a lot of people say is synonymous with spiritual, is mind, body, spirit. So it's a mind, body, spirit connection, as opposed to being in a doctor's office, having a doctor whisk in, ask you a few questions about the particular malady you have, the particular ailment, and then they're out the door. And they didn't ask you, how are you sleeping? What are your relationships like in your life? Do you have a full life? Are you, that's a holistic path, that a method that we can all agree is more profound and more encompassing, more healing. So obstacles are, so these people come in and they want to start a business. So that's a whole different skill set. Maybe they're used to working somewhere for somebody and they don't know what it's like to do marketing and what kind of marketing is effective. So that's why the Holistic Chamber of Commerce is very good. You get together and you learn quite a bit. There's panels. And So I would say that that's one of the biggest obstacles. We have a bunch of these people coming out and they want to heal. So we're having this renaissance, I think. But more people out there, I think, still need to know they exist, that these practitioners are out there everywhere. So Radiance Magazine and Radiance Multimedia online, with all the video content we're doing and expanding there, is getting that word out, educating people, letting people know where the spiritual centers are, where you can take classes just to see if you're interested in maybe becoming a healer of some sort, or an intuitive reader, which is also a healer. And I'd love to talk about that a little later too.
Sure. I didn't realize you were a radio station. Do you have a radio component?
Yeah, I do have a podcast, and we're going to be the next season is going to be coming up very soon. I've been doing video casts as well. So people, for instance, who advertise the magazine, will do that as a part of a sort of a package for them, where we'll also do like an interview like this, and then share it on social media, or a podcast for people who just prefer to listen as opposed to watching. There's a lot of things we're doing for the contributors to the magazine to get their message out.
Perfect.
But I can I just say something about the print magazine being out there on the street?
Sure.
Okay. I love it. A lot of people love reading physical copy. Some people say some people don't, but it's interesting in certain niches, and we call this a super niche, for people who want to learn more about what can a shaman do for me? What can a modern shaman do? Or I want to learn more about tarot or astrology, and how those things help me read the universe and see the signs that life is just at my fingertips. I can work with it. I can move with the energy and make things happen in my life, manifest things. People who are in that state of mind, this magazine you'll love. You'll love the articles at radiancemagazine.org. But I love the print copy being out there, also because when people are sitting at their computers all day, their algorithms are giving them the same stuff.
Right.
Your computer's sort of trained to do that, to give you more of what you like, more of what you know, so outside information doesn't get in.
Right.
Which we know all about that in on the scene in politics and whatnot. It's very difficult to get other information. So this is it's independent. It's out there. It's in the corner of the yoga studio or the health food store, any place where people are into self-care.
Beautiful.
If you know enough about yourself that you deserve, as we all do, it's our birthright to be caring and loving of ourselves, to have that self-care. That's where you'll find the magazine in Southern California, and we'll be expanding to Northern California and other places as well. But again, a lot of people just love the print copy. I'm just going to hold up a copy right now, the latest one, Radiance. Yep. And
it's beautiful.
Thank you.
So how do you get to be a writer? Because I write. I would love to contribute to it. Is that a possibility if you're in Colorado, or do you stay with?
No, there's it's funny. I get approached by that a lot. I wish I had all the pages for all the talented writers out there who don't have enough forums. I mean, there's a lot of online magazines out there, of course. Being in print is, let's just say, not everybody does it because it's a thing. Print is a thing.
Yes, it is. I publish books, so
yeah. So now this magazine is free at all these locations. So the people who contribute to it, they purchase pages in it, and they write, and they advertise. So, and then we have features that we're following. So, for instance, this is the Life is Magical issue. So people who are contributing, who have packages with the magazine, were encouraged to write to that if they wanted to. Now, the next issue for the January of 2019, January 2020, is the frequency of wellness issue. Beautiful. So it's going to be the frequency issue. And so that is very interesting when people understand that we are made up of frequency. We are made up of energy. And adjusting, working with that energy, whether in the form of Reiki, whether in the forms of exercise or singing or dancing, can affect your health in so many ways. So that'll be the next theme that people will be writing towards.
Oh, that's perfect. And there's so many machines out now that seems to be a thing. Buy a frequency package, or buy a downloadable frequency. That people that do know that we're really, I think we're like a note. I think that's what our DNA spiral is. It's actually a sound and light. And I wanted to let you know a couple people are talking to you online, which is fun.
Great.
Olivia, who lives in LA, says self-love rocks. Thank you. And Zach is a physicist, so be prepared. Here we go. How do you qualify practitioners / centers for inclusion? I would imagine it's difficult task, yet in my experience, some Akashic Records readers are completely off base and some are right on.
Well, and it's interesting because, and that's the thing, right? That's, I mean, there are different centers, different ways of measuring some of this, but sometimes, so I'll say this, there's a lot of people don't even know what the Akashic Records are. And so that's an interesting thing. I assume people listening or watching your show are up on all this.
They may have all taken the class.
Say that again?
Well, a bunch of us, I've taken the class to be a practitioner, and I use them too. So I said the listeners may have all taken the class.
Okay, sure. And for that one person maybe who doesn't know the Akashic Records, well, you could probably explain it better, but it's just there's a place in the universe, in life, in the quantum field, perhaps, where everything that's ever happened has been recorded, past, present, and future, and we actually can access those things. Now that's advanced spiritual stuff. We talk about things like that in the magazine, and we talk about everything to just mindful meditation. Some people are just at that level. They just I just want less stress in my life, and I want tips on meditation or spiritual practice, or a practice that calms me, like bare feet on the ground, and earthing and grounding, and so the magazine runs the gamut of all that. But to attempt to answer his question, sometimes we don't get a great reading from somebody just because we're not a match for that person. And yes, sometimes maybe they need more schooling, and they may be a beginner. So I think over time they if they don't improve, they'll probably vibrate out because people won't be going to them as much, or so I know a lot of people who I got a so-so reading from 2 years ago that now are so much better, and I'm so glad to have seen their growth.
Right.
So, and then again, that depends on the price that they're charging, because I know. Can we talk about the healing benefits of intuitive readings?
Sure.
Okay.
You can talk about I'm just facilitating people to know about you. So whatever you feel that you want to share, it's very delightful to hear you. So whatever you want to share is fine.
Okay. So this is something when I restarted the magazine 2.5 years ago. I had never had that I knew of a really good intuitive reading. I was skeptical that they existed. I was familiar with things that mentalists do when they pick up on body language and maybe other things. There's face readers. And then I started to get some readings where these people were telling me things that there was no way they could know about me.
Yeah.
That just got me. And it was, so those would be called evidential psychics or readers. And I started to understand that, and this is something all of us can do for each other. And we do it for each other, whether we talk about our hunches as intuition, as psychic abilities or not. We make decisions or don't make decisions based on that.
Right.
Where like we go, oh, I should have done that thing. Something told me, well, that something was that little voice that anything we can do to keep listening to that we'll live a much better life in the flow. That's a much more fulfilling life. So then I started to see the healing benefits that people, when you're told something about yourself that you can't see, like maybe it's in your blind spot, and then all of a sudden the reader, lets you know that this thing is affecting your life.
Yeah.
It's pulling your life like a moon, or like any gravitational force is pulling something, your life, and that's why your life isn't going where you thought you wanted to go. It's going here, and then they bring it out. Well, that's healing. You work that out, whether it's an issue with your parent, a loved one, or just an issue. Being able to work with that now affects your whole life, and then things start to shift in you, and that thing also could have been making you sick. And if you can get rid of that thing, and that thing doesn't make you sick anymore, or is the beginning of that journey of healing, and for the cause of illness, now that's why the subtitle of the magazine up here at the top is integrative wellness at its best.
Perfect.
Now, some people think integrative wellness is, oh yeah, well, I see a chiropractor and an acupuncturist, so I'm covered. It's like, no, there's quite a bit more from essential oils to energy healing, Reiki healing, quantum healing. So now, circling all the way back to the physicist, that's an interesting thing. So there's physics and there's quantum physics, and as a lot of people know, and again, I know it sounds like I'm switching subjects, but it's all related.
Yeah.
Quantum physics is the science that is the language of spirituality. We're finding that what they're discovering is what spirituality has known for years. And so I did a hashtag the other day that I think I'm going to keep using, and that is that New Age is ancient wisdom.
Right. Yes. It's a remembering.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a remembering.
Well, your work is a bridge, because if I'm sitting in if waiting for a coffee or something at a coffee shop and I pick up your magazine and I'm a new person, it sounds like that they can get quick overview on a subject, and their soul, I feel like your soul directs you, that everything in your experience is for you, not against you. So just by chance you'll trip over something and there it is, and there are no coincidences with all of that. So I love that you're educating people, but it's kind of like sound bites, so it's making a bridge from the 3D to whatever D we're going to.
Yeah. And I'm putting information out there, so that's up to them if they want to educate themselves with. And I'm a facilitator as well, so I facilitate these healers, these teachers, these writers and authors and speakers, and they're amazing people that I learn from. So I put it out there,
Right.
And people can choose to take in what they want, and they can just flip through the pages and just choose what speaks to them. And maybe maybe they read the article on pet codependency, or they see the headline like, wait a minute, pet codependency. Francis Greenspan was talking about, that because, okay, so they have to first say, so how does she know that? Can she really talk to animals? So first we got to leap that hurdle. And indeed she does. And she's evidential, and she can tell you things about them that just on the phone with you, energy goes out, the reading goes out, and she's telling you things. And that's amazing right there. And then she can go deeper and find out, people might be a little codependent, and animals are emotional and they can feel things. And it's an interesting check on ourselves, because again, the only thing I would want to educate or illuminate or enlighten people on is ways for them to be more free. It's all about their freedom, their joy, their liberation from limiting beliefs, whatever those are. And it's up to them to decide what those are. I don't know. But there are tools to help you see, to help you understand, this is a belief or something I have in my life that's been holding me back. And now I realize I didn't choose it before. It's subconsciously, it's something I inherited from my parents or somewhere else. And I realize it's not serving me anymore. So I'm going to release it.
Perfect.
So it's about that kind of freedom. I don't know what anyone needs. They know what they need best, but there are tools, there are people, there are modalities that can help people get more freedom. And that's what Radiance is about.
That's wonderful. Well, Shelley Shock is saying love. She did the hashtag New Age is Ancient Wisdom. Love that. And she's talking about Akashic Records, and Barb Bonamasso's here. And then Zach wrote something else about physics. And Shelby just wrote introspection. Zach wrote, remember that the true physicists are the mystics who long ago peered beyond the veil. Only those who see realize that the great physicists actually channeled the information from the extranet, my term for the field of infinite knowledge.
I love that.
Yeah, me too. Well, I do believe that all of this is in the mystery schools, and that we're in a great remembering personally. And I, like you, get to work as a marketing person with these just amazing healers that have supernatural gifts, because they've quelled their ego and they're in service. And hopefully that's a lot of the trend that we're seeing when you see people. The ego is a construct of the story, of the storyline, the repeating and dragging the past forward. So I salute you that you're supporting getting the knowledge out that there's a way out, that you don't have to go to a psychiatrist for 20 years and keep talking about it. You can change the frequency that is holding that in your field, whether it was, in some cases, I believe that these were soul contracts, that you came here as a soul mission to learn. That's and right. You need to push through it to get to the other side so you can help everyone else with it, or just so that you can resonate at your highest.
Yeah. And I'm a writer and a storyteller as well. And I believe in the hero's journey. And I like to put out to people, I like to say, okay, if you want to think that life has no meaning, that there's no governing force or energy or intelligence, that's fine. That we all just take a dirt nap when we're done. Okay, that's one way to look at life. And I don't see how that could inspire anybody, but okay. But actually, when you realize you have a choice of how you're going to live your life, or even how you think about life, well, I want to think about life in the ways that empower me the most. I want to have empowering thoughts. So if I'm going to have stories, they're going to be stories that empower me.
Right.
And then I think about, well, okay, so if I was the creator of life, if I was going to create life, what would I do? And I would want, and what would the meaning of life be? And that's, I'm saying these things kind of matter of factly, but I think they are. I think, yeah, I think the meaning of life is to experience it, to experience all of it, to experience joy, and also things that are in shadow, or the dark and the light aren't necessarily bad. That we have different understandings of that, but that you can't have the light without the dark. And if I was the one doing that, I would do the same thing. I would wipe our memory, so that we didn't remember the past lives we had, but we brought some of that with us. We brought some inclinations or skills or desires, and maybe some of the past lives we had are similar to this one, so they're going to be closer to us and weigh in. It's and help us and that sort of thing if we wish to, or we're going to realize there are signs in this universe. There are clues that have been given in the forms of astrology or tarot or many of the other modalities. And it's like, maybe let me utilize that and help myself. So I choose to make it fun. Some people choose to know life is hard. Life is this, life is that. Okay. And when that no longer serves you, and that's fine, that's but if you want, you could set that down and try something else for a while too.
Right.
But it's funny you mentioned the mystery teachings, because the mystery school, because Gaia, who has Teresa Bullard in there, is advertising in Radiance Magazine.
Wonderful.
So the mystery school is in there. Something people should check out on Gaia.com/radiance. So that would be great.
Wonderful.
And then you mentioned channeling for a moment. So I think we all channel. I think some people see channeling as, oh, people are what? They're possessed by a spirit or something. And it's like, actually, we're all channeling when we're in the zone, when we're in our purest state, allowing the force, allowing God, allowing the universe, energy, whatever, come through us to tap into that, whether we're gardening, whether we're cooking, writing a novel, all the things people can do, dancing. When you're in the zone channeling, that you're channeling. So that's why I got to tell you, I'm not just saying this because I own this magazine, I run it. I think it's just simply one of the most important things on the planet, because so much of it is channeled. So much of it is coming through as the purest, best information. I mean, yes, read all the sacred texts, the Bhagavad Gita, the Bible, all those things, and all the great books out there that are written. And you know when the books are channeled, because they're so pure. It's like someone hit a crystal bowl and it just rings so clearly through your whole being. And go with that, trust that. And there's quite a bit of that. You'll find it in Radiance as well. So I would encourage people, take a channeling class. They're out there, and find it. And it basically means getting more in tune with your authentic self. And that's just another fun thing to do. And it's great for your health and wellness.
Well, I love your enthusiasm, and I love the fact that you're a part of the good news department, because we really need more good news. The thing that I love about what you're doing is I think that people have forgotten that they're creators of all of this. And once they decide that they want to create something different, all of the people that you're supporting through the magazine and through your podcasts and through your enthusiasm for the mysteries of life and the curiosity of it, that's the path to self-awareness, self-love, self-awakening, and co-creating with the universe. This wasn't, in my opinion, we're all like antenna, and we can dial in and bring in chi and this wonderful energy from the universe, but we can be tuned.
Yes.
We can tune it for global consciousness to the negative or the positive. And what you're doing is supporting people to find the positive, to find that station, if you want to call it. Or
I agree, and that's why the next issue, the theme of it, is going to be the frequency issue, because when you can raise your frequency, raise your vibration, that improves your health and improves everything around you, improves the world. So anything we can do in that respect is so healthy and fun, feels good. Why not?
Yeah. So you feel that you're seeing, I mean, there's 2019, there's just so much of the contrasts of polarity that's being shown with the love and hate, war and peace. I mean, you see even now the climate thing is, we're fighting for the climate, which I don't think is the right message personally, because fighting is fighting. It's still not the right. It's not love. So how do you see 2020 coming up? Do you, I know you're going to be optimistic, but it would be great to hear a trend, or, well, I would love people to say, I heard Scott predict this on Conscious Business Zone, and he was right on. So do you have a sensor for that at all with what you're doing?
I heard from someone recently, there's a difference between rebellion and revolution. And rebellion is fighting against something, and revolution is creating something new. And I think that's happening. I think a lot of people are. It's grassroots. It's why, for instance, the essential oil industry has grown so much in multi-level marketing, person to person to person. And instead of, I mean, you have pharmaceutical companies, and the American Medical Association have a lot of money, and they have a lot of commercials out there because their money is together, it's coalesced. But actually, there's a lot more money being made in the wellness industry overall. That's not necessarily just allopathic medicine or your regular doctor. but they're so spread out. They're one man, one woman shops, and they're working hard with their nose to the grindstone, doing what they do out of their passion. And so I like to let them know there's many more of them around, and that's what I do with Radiance Multimedia, with the videos and the publication. But there's a lot of power. There's a lot of people doing that. They're not listening. They're watching the pharmaceutical companies, and they're saying all those warnings. I'm not going to take that. I'm going to try something else. And in fact, in a lot of hospitals, they are using essential oils instead of opioids in some cases.
Oh, wow.
So even if that was just, one or two, but it's much more than that. There's quite a bit. That's awesome. Reiki is being offered in major hospitals in California and beyond. And so there's a great movement for this. I don't know if you want to say it's happening slowly or it's happening at the rate it's happening, but it's wonderful. It's natural. A lot of these things are ancient things. Pharmaceuticals, of course, are synthesized. They go to the rainforest, they find the thing, then they synthesize it so they can sell it. But why not just use that original herb in the form of an oil or just naturally? So there's a lot more of that happening. So you might call the other part of it the matrix, and might say being outside the matrix.
Yes.
And the thing is, the matrix is a contrast, and it's by design. I think it's all perfect. I used to get upset by some things, but I pretty much don't anymore, because it's all perfect. It's showing us the contrast. It can make things uncomfortable because we're used to things being a certain way. Things are getting shaken up. So if you can believe that everything spiritual, it's a spiritual belief. You can believe everything that happens is in your highest and best good. You'll be in really good shape. So when you keep looking for that, you keep being empowered to look for that. I mean, face it, that's the kind of people you want to be around too. People who think like that and be like that. So why not be like that yourself? It's a better life. There's some good in it. No matter what happens, it's up to you how you respond. We've heard that a million times in all the Facebook memes, but it's so true. And I've said that cliches are passé until you need them like oxygen. And they're just, sometimes you're grasping for that thing, and that basic thing. It's how I respond, not just reacting to something. It's important, and cliches need to be repeated for that reason. Because we get lost, we get distracted, we fall into these pits, we get angry, we get triggered because we're still not totally healed. Not that we ever will be, but there are layers, and we can help ourselves get past our biggest triggers, I believe. And when you can do that, you have more control of you. You have more control of your state of mind, your peace of mind, your state of your heart and your spirit. And then you're living a great life. And that's the reason we're here.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Amen. Well, so Scott, if you wanted to connect with people, so it sounds like it's California pretty much is the most of your constituents at this point, the people that are in the magazine and the people get to see it. Are you thinking of growing the magazine to a more U.S. base?
Well, yeah, we've grown it to 660 physical locations, which is it's no small thing, because especially the area it covers is pretty big. And yeah, we're going to be at some point going into some of the other bigger cities in Northern California. But a lot of the people in here, actually what they do can be done over the phone, over the internet, in a call like this. For instance, the pet communicators, the intuitive readers, the shamans. There's one, Daniel Gutierrez was on the cover, who you know. Yeah. He moved to Peru, and he is absolutely still coaching people from Peru. In fact, I would even say he's probably a better coach, because he's living in the Sacred Valley, and he's got all that beautiful energy around him and a lot more time for introspection and deepening of his spirituality. So, if you resonate with these people, read their article, read what they're saying about their modality or about life, and then check out their website and reach out to them. And you deserve it. You deserve a coach. We all could use coaching at some point, or even just someone to help explore ourselves, because we're just not used to it, especially when it comes to our heart. I mean, how important is our heart? Very. In fact, if we could all live from our heart, and when we do our best. When we're on our deathbed, we're only thinking coming from our heart, right? Why wait till then? We should live like every day is our last. So drop down into your heart as much as possible. If you need to meditate for 10 minutes to do that first, great. You need to do some exercise, take a walk. And then when you come from your heart in your life,
It's perfect.
That's really how we want to live. And we're doing our best when we do that. I mean, if you need proof of that, just think about the things you love the most, your grandkids, your kids, your significant other, a pet, a dog, and you automatically go to your heart. What if you lived your life from there?
Right.
So, that would be a greater world. And I think that's the revolution that we're starting, whatever it's called. If you want to call it the new Atlantis, or whatever you want to call this new thing, I think we should have a vision for what it is, a renaissance. It's people who are coming from their heart, and we're relating to each other from that point of view. And also because we've done a fair amount of healing to get to that point, perhaps we don't need anything from other people. We can want their companionship, their love, but we don't need anything. We don't need to take anything. They talk about energy vampires. We've all been there. We've all done it. Oh, in fact, I mentioned that a little bit. I know we're about to end. In the back of the magazine, this issue, or online, there's 4 pages of a novel that I'm writing. And what it is, it's a love story set against the Southern California spiritual community. It's set in that community, yeah, and possibly some true, well, let's just say based on some true events. And it's very interesting. So it's the first couple chapters. Every issue is going to be serial version, a little bit of what do they call that? Cliffhanger.
Uh-huh.
And so that's in this issue, and it mentions energy vampires in relationships, how sometimes we find ourselves taking energy from other people, and it's not fair. And we don't realize we're doing it until we do. And we don't want other people to do it to us. So we want to stop that. And anyway, that's a whole other subject too.
Well, what you reminded me of is one of my clients who were publishing his book. He's an MD. His name's Dr. Paul Hanna, and he's a Qigong master. He's amazing, and his whole practice is breathe in love, breathe out harmony. And his morning ritual is to bring in as much light as he can in his light body, and then just go out in the world without judgment, without anything. And people are love starved. I mean, they really, they say, oh, you need to hug for 20 seconds to rebalance your system, but people's nervous systems, maybe not always your readers or the people that are in your magazine, but the general public is being bombarded with all this negative information, and it's almost hard to get that mainlined. It's a test to see if you can stay calm and centered in the middle with all the bad news and Trump and whatever. I mean, it's every second. And the reason I had wanted to know about 2020 is we're going to an election year. And I think that I'm being called to help as many people with my marketing plans and this work that I'm doing here with you as possible. That it's food almost, that we desperately need to find each other, create community, and really support the people that are awakening, because physiologically there's photonic energy affecting humanity. It's affecting all of life, but all of life is okay. It's humanity that has the construct of fighting with this energy. And so all of the people you're supporting, and I'm very fortunate to support, are people like Daniel Gutierrez that help create a different method of living, and they model it enough that these people can watch, learn, and they'll find their guide. It's almost they hear the voice and they know it's the resonance.
And and the thing is, nobody's perfect. And when we run the risk when we follow people of being disappointed. And it's like, it's not about that. It's like, yeah, look for inspiration, and then go to yourself. It's all about you. In fact, the cliche about when a plane's going down and the oxygen masks fall, what do? You're supposed to take it to yourself first, because if you pass out, you can't help anybody.
Right.
And that's the case here. We must take care of ourselves. It feels selfish to a lot of people, but that's not correct. You can't be truly any good for other people unless you're good to yourself.
Right.
And people say, well, that's not the case. Actually, a lot of people like what I do for them. Well, guess what? It's not authentic what you're doing for them. It's actually not healthy. You're actually enabling them. All these things, these are for the pleasers, the people pleasers out there who run around. And I used to be one, who run around pleasing people, and you're actually hindering them. You're not. It feels good for a moment. It's hitting some reward center, but not the one you want. It's not fulfilling. At the end of the day, you're exhausted and you're not fulfilled.
Right. It's depleting. You know, you're on the right track when you are in the zone. It feels good. You're in love. You easily can stay there versus the constant release of everything to depletion. That's what you're saying, correct?
I agree. I do agree. And I think 2020 is going to be better, not just because I'm an optimistic person, but because I've seen how 2019 has been getting better, that there's been a lot of denseness, density in ourselves and in the air. And there's been, and I've got it on pretty good word that, just things are changing and there's less density, which means, what that means is the energy. So things can change in the air, if you will, in the field. And we're allowed to do more things. You mentioned briefly at the very beginning, 3D and 5D living.
Yeah.
So 5D living is very possible. It's something that wasn't necessarily always available energetically, right? So that's a whole other story, a whole other subject to talk about.
Oh, well, we probably could do this for days. Sure. I think we have a lot of the same concepts, and we both are doing marketing, getting the world to know about these amazing beings that embodied at this time to serve, and it's time for them to be visible. And it's easy to get them visible with social media and all the ways. Now, I want you to know that Shelby Shock has said a bunch of nice things about you. Says, let our cups run over and bless others with the overflow. Olivia said, that's what I teach, living from your heart. Zach said, right on. Well said. Zach said, you answer the question about 2020 when you stop worrying about which century it is. We all have grace available all of the time. Now,
exactly.
True.
Yeah, there is no time. There's only tomorrow never comes. It's always just the present moment. We play around with dates because that's just what our minds like to do. But if you are in the present moment, the eternal now, and not living like there's a tomorrow, not thinking about that, because if you're doing that, you're not in the present if you're thinking about tomorrow. So just be in the present moment. I like what Neil Donald Walsh always said, what would love do now, is always a good question to ask in any situation. And that includes self-love. And the fact that people, I think, are getting more informed, there's this momentum of more awakening. 8 billion people will be on the planet about 2020. And I think a lot of these people have incarnated to be here during this time because it's a special time.
Right.
And a lot of awakenings happening, and the contrast happening in government, all that sort of thing is important, is shaking us up and is birthing this. And the fact that I was listening to Cryon, I don't know if you're familiar, was saying that just there's less density, which makes it there's more available to us to reach out to the universe, to engage with it, to work with it. For the betterment of all of us. So there's just a lot out there. Just tap in, and you'll have a great time. You'll have a great life.
Well, there's a lot of people that are brave enough to get visible, that are way showers that can help people. So that's what I'm hoping, that everyone will take advantage of the online presence that the magazine has. If you're not in California, I'm in Colorado, so I can't get a physical copy. I'm so glad you showed it, because I would love to have one. But you have to know that we're all just on our own journey, and there is nobody going faster or slower. There's just teachers and students and gifts. And that's where Shelby's in Kentucky, apparently.
Okay.
So what you're seeing is that this is the time to activate your gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that we're here now because this is one of the first times humans have been able to ascend embodied. And so that there isn't one Christ or one Buddha figure coming, that it's going to be all of us that have the potential to hold that frequency of light and love. So everyone's on their journey. Scott has a delightful way for you to start your journey and to help you start to feel out what's going to make you have a happier and a more fulfilling life, which is really what it's all about.
Yeah.
Scott, is there any other way that they should connect with you besides I've been showing the website URL? Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
Well, my email is radiancemageditor@gmail.
Okay.
If you want to reach out to me directly or follow me on Facebook. You might find it interesting to follow me on Facebook. I like to get out in the community. I like to take pictures and show what we're doing. Sometimes I'll have an intuitive reader with me or psychic, and we'll come across someone who gets a reading. And in fact, next week I'll be doing a little bit more of it. I call it going on a spiritual hub crawl. And I'll go to different spiritual centers and with some people, and I'll actually deliver some magazines, and we'll kind of make a time of it and get some photos and maybe do some readings on the people, which can deeply affect them, and let people know it's a thing. It's something you can do. It's something you are doing. But again, going back to what you we're saying before, we are the ones we've been waiting for,
right,
in this world. And if you don't think that's the case, if you don't know you're that magnificent, I would ask yourself why you don't know yourself, that you are that magnificent. Beautiful. And search and find out why that is, because it's your birthright. Regardless of what anyone told you, regardless of what you think, you're awesome, amazing, and that's what I want everyone to know, because that gives them the choice. That lets them know choice is available, so they can choose the life they want and live their most empowered and fulfilling life. That's what it's all about.
And what I'd like to also say that Scott's created almost a community out of this. So I want to encourage you all to see how he's done it and see what the community, you can see what a difference that makes when you're in community and you have the support of loved ones. I'm lucky enough, I'm in the Co-Creators Convergence group, and we have a beautiful community of amazing beings. And so I want to encourage people to check out Scott's community that he's created around the magazine. You can see he's holding the space for as many people as want to join. So,
well, yeah, and that's the thing. Some people, they see me taking these pictures with people and where we're hanging out and what we're doing, and they say, "You have the best job in the world." And I said, "Well, it wasn't a job until I created it. I mean, I could just edit, I could just run ads and accept ads." But I said, well, I don't know. I was just moved to do it. And I would want everyone to have that knowledge that they can do anything they want, and be moved by the spirit, and let the channelings come, let the intuition sparkle and radiate inside you and be radiant and come out of you. And it's just such a joyful feeling. And that's where these things come from.
Wonderful.
So yeah, it's a blessing. I hope other people can replicate it in other places as well. Homegrown efforts are the best.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for all the work you do. And I hope we've had 29-30 comments, which is great. So we'll need to go back and speak with everybody. But you'll have to go online and see if you're out of California, see the magazine and follow Scott, follow what he's doing on Facebook. It's what we're supposed to be doing now. I'm so grateful. So
Thank
grateful
you.
to know about
Thank
you.
you for having me. And if you want to follow me on Facebook, my last name is Ware, W-A-R-E, Scott Ware, and it'll say Radiance Magazine. But yeah, Kathy, thank you. This was great. I knew I wanted to be on a show. I looked at some episodes and then I looked at your memes on Facebook, and you're awesome. And I love the work you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, this is what we're here for. And it's the big work. It's actually very exciting. It's very, very amazing what we can do to co-create together right now.
I agree.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and hope everyone will follow Scott and do something similar in their community, or find out if maybe he might want a version of Radiance in your area. Maybe.
Sure. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.